Can you do a little test?
Check, 1, 2. Check. Chocolate milk. There's blood in the chocolate milk. 1, 2. Because when they make the chocolate, this is an old Steve Abbott quote from CBTGs, and it's the funniest sound check I've ever heard. But when they make the chocolate milk, that's when they put the blood in. Blood.
I'm just watching you. I'm not watching the levels. I'm Veronica Diamond, a writer, comedian, and sometimes independent producer. I love talking shop with other creators and hearing their advice, insights, and war stories. If you've ever wondered how shows get made, this is the show for you. Welcome to The Means of Producing. Welcome back to another exciting episode of The Means of Producing, the show where I interview producers and ask them questions about producing. Thank you for watching. My guest today is Liam Small. Liam, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello. My name is Liam Small, and I'm a producer. No, I'm a local comic in St. John's. I am a filmmaker. Is that what you call yourself when you're a film technician?
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds way cooler
You
to
help
say.
make films.
I'm a film helper. I don't make it, but I help. And yeah, comic in St. John's. I've been doing comedy for about 10 years. Played in bands before that, and yeah, literally now I spend most of my time making Canadian television or helping make Canadian television and doing comedy locally. Producing maybe not as much as I used to before, but when I find time, it's still kind of in ya, I think.
Yeah. When did you start? What's your origin story in making your own shows? Because I know that I knew you from comedy, but you had a whole career of making your own shows prior to stand-up, right?
Yeah, I mean, even if it's like outside of comedy, I think, growing up in Gander, there was like a big music scene back then. This is like the early aughts. There was a lot of bands in Gander, and we used to call it the band union, the local band union or whatever, where people, and this is Gander, it's like a town of 8,000 people, like what are we talking about, a union? But like literally just like meetings where like some of the guys in the bands will get together and do a DIY show. And there used to be like an old town site right next to the airport where the town was originally founded, was next to the airport, and they had the town there, and then the town grew, and then they're like, we got to get this town away from the airport. So then they moved the town down like a kilometer, but then there were still foundations of these old buildings, and there were still roads in what is now like a woods. So you've got this like woods with streets in it. If like it's something out of like a Stephen King.
That sounds horrifying.
It's certainly like, it looks like the cover of a Stephen King book.
It also sounds like a great place for a heavy metal show.
Yeah, and here we are, right? But like about everything. But yeah, we used to have these things that were called slab shows, and I wasn't necessarily like the organizer, but he certainly helped. And we would haul generators and work lights and stuff and hook up amplifiers to the generators and go out in the old abandoned town, light a bonfire in the front and play shows. And they were called slab shows because it was on this old foundation. But I think it used to be the old post office, I think. And so that was where like the DIY spirit kind of came from, I think, which turned into, I mean, when we were playing in bands, you just kind of get booked by venues, but it certainly came through a lot more with comedy when it came to, it's like, oh, like no one's coming to save this. If there's no shows, there's no scene. If there's no scene, it just doesn't exist. And so, yeah, that, sometimes you gotta, if you want it done right, you gotta do it yourself. Not done right, but if you want it done at all, you gotta do it yourself. And I think that's where my start in producing came from, was like from a necessity in St. John's after the Yuck Yucks closed and stuff like that, that there was no venues. And then so with relation to comedy, it was like that old thing. It was like in Gander, it's like there's no bars hiring us, there's nothing coming through. We're gonna do a show in the woods. and it was sort of the same thing. It felt that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So your comedy show, Comedy Up Your Farce, which was at the Levee, R.I.P., RIP, as the youths say.
The show is unalived right now.
Oh, God. So the you started that show before the Yuck Yucks shut down, as I recall, because there was a very brief period of time where you could leave Yuck Yucks on Kenmount Road and dart down to your show, as I recall. And it might have been like this little whisper of time where you're like, I just want to do a show at the Levee. It'll be fun. And then the Yuck Yucks shut down.
It was that gray area you're talking about. So like I said, I'm sure the other guests you've had have probably talked about like the Yucks shutting down. I'm sure maybe it's come up. Okay, so there used to be a comedy club in St. John's. And then a bunch of us got inspired to start doing comedy. And as soon as we did, the club fucked off.
A long, long time ago. Oh, wait, no. That's copyright. No, okay. I think
Basically 10 years ago, I can still remember when Mark Breslin had a club on Kenmount Road.
Brilliant.
That was better than it ever had any right being.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so the Yucks was on the way out for whatever reason, and we used to when I started doing comedy, it was amateur night was on Wednesdays. That was Wednesday amateur night, and they phased that out, so they stopped doing amateur night on Wednesdays, and I for some reason I remember. Even like being new to comedy, but like I'm not new to clubs. We can get into that, but I remember that being like a writing on the wall. So then they stopped doing amateur night Wednesdays, which is the only show that a lot of us could, like those of us who started around the same time, could get on. Meanwhile, maintaining the weekend shows, blah blah blah. But I started doing comedy at the Levee on Wednesday nights because Yuck Yuck stopped doing the amateur nights on Wednesdays. Right. And that was when I just sort of was like, I don't know a whole lot about comedy right now, but I've got access to a lot of bar manager friends, and there's a scene after having played in like metal bands for a couple of years and stuff, and being a bar fly anyway. Like I grew up in my dad was a bar manager. Like Take Your Kids to Work Day was in a pub, like pubs. And so it's like, I don't know much, but I know like some bar managers, like we can do this elsewhere. It might not be pretty. It might not have an attendance, but I mean, how many people were showing up at that spot on a Wednesday up on Kenmount Road anyhow? Can't imagine why they shut it down. So, but that's where it started. It was kind of a necessity thing, and we, or at least the amateurs, needed somewhere to go, and I certainly wanted somewhere to go. It was selfish enough, but I knew bar owners and venues, so it was like, well, this can't be that hard. Little did I know, but like it was like, okay, well, if we're all accustomed to getting Wednesday nights off, let's do Wednesdays sort of at the Levee was the name of the bar at the time, where we used to do a Wednesday night metal night. So it was Wednesday night was sort of already a slot I occupied, either as a ghost or a poltergeist. I was the spirit of Wednesday nights, but and that's where it really kicked off with it, or where that show started. Yeah.
What are some of your big memories from your Levee days, from the days at Comedy Up Your Arse?
More than like any one thing that happened at the show, I just remember people being kind of grateful that there was a spot to go. Not that anybody was like kissing my ass or anything like that, but it was like oh fuck, thank God. Like, can I swear? I can swear.
Of course.
But like, yeah, that's what I remember. Like, I remember it being like an oasis, or what? Because everyone's like, "What are we gonna do?" There's no club anymore. There's no venues, so it was like, just at least there was a spot. And I remember, because I didn't know very much, I didn't really know how to contribute to the community very well or whatever. But I was like, geez, I got pretty good access to this bar. So I remember that being like a really nice thing to. And I also remember having to try and do a social media and like poster and promote things for the first time, which I very gently grew to hate over time.
Gently?
No. Aggressively grew to hate immediately.
Yeah, it's a lot of work though. Like a weekly open mic, you're getting names every week. It's a challenge. How did you find that when you were first starting out?
I found it, well, at the time, I think, like, especially, again, like 10 years ago in St. John's, it was just a smaller scene. So there's only, 20 people and people with jobs and children. So, I mean, to 10 people who are really just got nothing better to be at, so they, it wasn't too hard I didn't find it difficult putting lineups together. I found it difficult putting headliners together because people are in different places with their comedy and stuff when people are new. And I don't believe in putting somebody necessarily in a headlining spot before they're ready because they don't do themselves any favors. Should it not go maybe the way they want to. I mean, I think headliners should mean more than you're doing 10 minutes more than everybody else or 15 minutes more than everybody else. But I found that part, getting the lineups together was okay. What I found difficult that I didn't think was going to be like super difficult was managing the changes in everybody's schedules as they signed up. And having to, I'm going to be late. Can you put me in the lineup? Oh, and literally people on a local open mic level going, I don't want to follow this person. Or if they're going to be on the show, I don't want to be there. And at that point, I'm going, this feels like a you problem. Like, you then bail. Don't make me find out if they're on the show so you can have a problem with it, blah, blah, blah. Or just the drama of a small town arts community that would naturally arise, I'm sure. So that was something unexpected, I think, that I didn't anticipate would be that difficult, switching the lineup. And
yeah, I felt a little bit like Mom sometimes. It was like... Big
time.
Yeah.
Sometimes. It was like every week. And at the time, too, I was, I'd be working on set. So it'd be like, a 12-hour film day, and then I'd run downtown, set up the stage, get the soundboard going, blah, 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 put the seats, lay it out. And then by the time the show was starting and someone's coming to me with a complaint about, oh, they're here tonight? I didn't realize they were here tonight. Either they go or I go. And I'm just like, I'm so tired. I haven't thought about my own set. And those types of things were more what I found challenging. Yeah. But no, I wasn't like, I wasn't upset to unburden myself. I don't want to use the word unburden because I didn't really think of it as a burden. I mean, anything worth doing is worth putting some effort into, and you're going to run into those types of things. But by and large, it's still supposed to be fun at the end of the day. And when other people's drama make it not fun, you go, man, it's a Tuesday night. Man, come on. And that was probably the worst of it. And I sort of, so when I came back, and I don't know if you're going to get into the other show, but when I switched to hosting the show that I host now, I wanted to make those kinds of changes to correct that. Like, This isn't an open mic. It's not a traditional. It's not traditional, but it's just not. It's not that show. It's not
an open mic. It's a showcase show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Which
the next thing I wanted to chat about. We will get to that show. But you went to Toronto. You continued doing comedy in Toronto, right? What was the scene like there?
I have a particularly unique experience. I don't know. It's particularly. Listen to me. Particularly unique. I moved to Toronto and I really lived it. No, but like, fuck's sakes. No, but like when I moved to Toronto, I was still trying to work in film. So based on union type stuff, like I was waiting by the phone a lot of the nights. So I couldn't really book myself for anything, or even try and go out and do open mics until
engage in the grind.
I could not even enter the grind because I was trying to actually grind elsewhere for money, which is crazy. I know. Imagine making money, but I did that in Toronto. So what would happen was I'd be waiting by the phone for a call from the union to work a day as a technician on a film set, and sometimes you wouldn't know if you were getting that day until like 10 p.m. that night. So I couldn't exactly go out and like sign up to mics, because in Toronto, yes, there's a lot of shows. Yes, there's a lot of venues. Yes, but there's a lot of people. There's like the Humber College. There's students everywhere. So like the couple times I could perform, I was probably extremely tired from a full day's of work. And then I could do 3 to 5 minutes at 1 a.m. at the Ossington, for the 2 other comics who were just trying to stay awake before they could go home.
1 in the morning.
1 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the amateur show, or the more amateur show. Right. It's funny, now, like, because I have buddies and they come here and, we work out here and stuff like that. I got an easier time getting gigs out there now than I did when I moved there then, trying to do the open mic thing. Like, honestly, when I moved back to St. John's, I had more opportunities for stage time here, because it wasn't just crammed full of people trying to get on shows, but there were enough venues now. And by the time I came back,
there were more mics. There were
more mics, right? So something that had been started a few years ago, and to come back and was like, okay, well, this garden is growing a little bit. And so yeah, I actually performed more stand-up comedy in St. John's than Toronto.
Wow. The
whole time I was up there. Not that I wouldn't take any of it back. I made some great friends. I loved hanging out at the venues, the Underground, the Comedy Bar, places like that. Fantastic. But in terms of actually performing and developing and growing, it was actually a fairly stagnant time for me.
Mm-hmm. There was a number of years between when you came back from Toronto and starting the Embassy show. What were you doing in between there, and why did you start the show at the Embassy?
When I came back, I started another mic at a small club called Yes Buys, and it was just...
Yes, I do remember that now. Yeah. I'm sorry, I totally forgot Yes Buys.
Yeah, so I found I'm a pub kind of guy, like, so I like to find a watering hole, and that's what it is. So I meet managers, just really good friends. So it's like those connections. That's something I've always been able to bring to the table, is venues or people who are friendly and stuff like that. So when I came back, I found this lovely pub. Tara, who she runs Golf Shots now. I'm a pro. Love you, Tara. But had let me start up another mic there. I kind of moved home, and and then it was on Tuesdays. It wasn't even the Wednesday mic. Now it's Tuesdays in a venue that could hold like 8 people, really, and they all had to sit together. Like, it was so small.
And it was like a row, right? It's just a line.
Yeah, it was. Oh God, Veronica, it was the worst layout for an open mic. It was upstairs with like a fully functional bar downstairs. The whole bar's capacity was like, I don't know, 50, with 5 slot machines and a kitchen. Just, it was like, it may as well have been a fast food place. And you go upstairs and there was a couple of spots to sit. And of course the 8 comics on the show took up half the space to be there a lot of the times, right? And but it was just like an old habit. Like, I just kind of came back and was like, okay, so there's Wednesdays. I don't even know if you were still running it by then, or if I
don't think so. I think I'd fucked off by then.
or if the successor had started running it by then. But I just remember being like, all right, well, I can probably do Tuesday nights, because the way film works, you start earlier in the weekend, your days later in the week. So I was like, well, Tuesday night I could probably squeeze out like a 9 p.m. show, but the same thing, just DIY, just another stage to get up and talk in front of people, because I don't know, that's the way to do it. Like, even when we played in bands, like before we started doing, the open mic, when we were playing in bands, we would do Wednesday night metal nights, and our band would play, and a lot of times there'd be no audience. But I'd look at the guys and go, look, listen, don't get discouraged. This is still an opportunity to get on stage and get into a microphone with a sound guy. We get to hear what we sound like up here versus in the basement. And to me, that's the same sort of idea, even if an open mic isn't necessarily the biggest hit in town, but having a space just to get up and say the words, because it's a lot different than when you're thinking about them at your desk, and then when you go up there and say it. So that was that. So I did that for a couple of years, and then that bar shut down, and I started rip. That's 2. I'm gonna trail of bodies in my wake. But yeah, so then the embassy shows kind of started up after that.
Okay, so that's the lead up to the embassy shows, and so tell me a little bit about those shows. How did they get started? Again, I guess that you had an inn at a bar that you visited fairly frequently.
Not to toot my own horn here or anything like that, but no. Yeah, so I started my very, very good friends of mine started, they took over this bar. So it was right around the corner sort of thing. And there was actually a bit of a gap where I was pleased not to, because again, it does, I had stopped hosting a show for a couple of years. Then I started hosting a show again. And I was like, oh, right. This is, now I'm everybody's enemy again somehow. No, so we started doing the show at the embassy because, again, like I was getting to a point, again, totally selfish endeavor, but if you need something and it's not there, then do DIY, And so I talked to the gang at the pub, and I said I have this idea. Where I'll host the show, which hosting you can usually get in terms of practice. I find, at least for me, like hosting, you get a little mix of crowd work, a little mix of your new material, and a little mix of your old material. So you can kind of
plus some improv.
And that's what I mean. So you can work out like a bit more in a way, or you can work out different parts of yourself in that. But for me, it was like it came out of having done a couple of shows and either trying to find a middle or even a headliner or something like that. And we have a pretty small pool and very few shows. So I was finding like I want a space where I can do 20 minutes. I want a middle spot. I don't want to do 45. I'm not looking to make a big thing, but
or 20 minutes at the end of 10 other people on a Wednesday night,
when
which is
everyone
tough,
is hammered and loud and waiting for karaoke to start.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, but yeah, and that's only when it's your spot every 2 to 3 months when you're the headliner or every whatever. So I wanted this to be, that's why I call it like the Embassy Comedy Showcase. Because I wanted it to be in the title that this wasn't like, who's the headliner? It's a showcase. So it's 3 comics doing 15 to 20. I give a couple of guest spots and I host. And that's kept the format pretty good for me. And it allows comics who are either working on a full headliner set or a small, or especially like if you're like me, like I'm a longer form sort of storytelling, or I'll get on a rant type of comic, so it's not as punchy. You need a bit more time. Like, I'm sure I would be terrible on Kill Tony, but if it was 10 minutes, maybe you get there. You know what I mean? So it's but there's different styles. It's, we're talking about comparing apples to oranges. Yeah. So I wanted to create a spot where comics could work out their 20 as opposed to their full headline thing, and then you can get
or
3
their 5s, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. But have a bit more time for each person and do that. But then I also had to think about scheduling, because like I can't do this every week. We don't have enough people in a place this size. There's different cities are a different thing. Well, if St. John's is 150,000 people, or the comedic pool is, well, it's changing now. There's more people all the time, but let's say 50. Back then it wasn't, even this is only new or whatever. So you would burn out of everybody's material and people would stop coming to the show or whatever. So I started to have it be not even monthly, like maybe every 6 weeks to 2 months or something. The last one I did was Easter, and we're early September now, but that's just scheduling or whatever. But it gives the people who are at the point where they can maybe do 20 minutes work on that 20 minutes and plot out that structure and, to help build the next thing. Because it's really hard to go from doing 5 minutes over and over to like a bigger set. But here in Newfoundland, you don't have the opportunity to go work around. There's nowhere else to do it. Again, we're all just doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
So my thinking was to create that middle step to kind of go up there, and that's where the showcases come from. And they're intimate shows. It's like 40 people or whatever, but it's you kind of do the assigned seating and you let people feel like they get a bit of bang for their buck. But that intimate small room, it is really a workout room for doing those. What I would say, like developing a middle spot, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that you changed from the open mics that you ran is that, like you said, it's a showcase instead of an open mic. So smaller, fewer comedians on the show, but all the comedians have more time, and ideally that time would be a little bit more polished. Is there anything else that's different or that you changed that you learned, I guess, from the open mics to the embassy show?
I suppose in a way, like it calloused me a little bit in terms of, I guess when I started running the open mics, I felt like I owed or I wanted to give something back and that sort of thing. And so with experience, I guess, like I didn't harden, but I really, I just sort of don't have time for the nonsense, I guess. Like I'd much rather just do a show every few months that's like some friends or people who are trying. If there's someone from away, certainly that you can put on. But with switching to this format, I was like, and it's not like not wanting to deal with people or whatever, but it's like for my own mental health. Like, you're adding so much more drama to your life, which I don't know if people realize all the time when you're booking a show. It's not just acts, but I guess anybody who's booked bands, anyone's ever to deal with a band. Every band is 5 artists. I mean, we're all artists. We're just, carnies without jobs, and we're all like, none of us are fit to work in an office, so we're all just trying our best, right? But yeah. I sort of...
You're doing it more for yourself.
It. Yeah, and I just was... I guess in my pitch to people, like, it's just a more no bullshit thing. It's like, if you're serious about this and you want to come in and you want to work on your stuff and you want to do something, then this is a spot for you. I guess I hate to say that, like, I took the community aspect out of it, but I think in a little bit that I did, it just got more focused and professional as to why I'm doing this show versus, hey guys, we need a space, like we got to do something. Mm-hmm. Now it's more of a tailored purpose sort of thing, mm-hmm. which is nice.
Yeah,
and it's someone else's turn anyway, man. You did it. Hey man, come on.
I think that's a fair thing to be like. It's like when you're starting out, you want to learn everything and be really open, and it's very general. As I've grown older in my years, but also like matured in my comedy, I'm like, okay, no, I have a focus on what I want to do and what my goals are in life generally, and like what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy. And I think that it's totally fine to be like, no, I want to narrow the focus of my show or my work in order to make it more fun for me and serve a purpose that serves me. So yeah, I think it's great to have, and we need to have different tiers of shows, because if you kind of just always have only open mics, then there's nothing else to strive for.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's why showcases exist. And that was one of the things that the club, I think, was very useful at having, was you did have a goal to strive for. They had the Pro-Am nights on Wednesday.
Yeah, you get that guest spot or something on the weekend.
You get a guest spot on the weekend. Yeah, and you get to say, I was on a show with Gilbert Godfrey or something like that. Yeah. And that's you get to show off your material in front of somebody who's really big, who you admire, who is traveling through town.
Did you get to do?
I never did a pro show. I never did a pro show. I only ever did the Pro-Am mics.
Sounds like you did a guest spot for Gilbert Godfrey.
I did not. I did not do it. I didn't do a guest spot.
9/11 now.
Quack, quack, quack. Rip.
A man walks into a talent agency.
A lot of the people who are watching this, I think, are newer comedians who are trying to get a perspective on just the background of shows in general. From a producer side of things, what are some things that you look at in new comedians, or that some advice that you would give other than learning the soundboard? Which we all know how you feel about the soundboard.
Would you like me to go over the soundboard again? Because I will, in detail, stress the importance of the soundboard. No, I would say if you ask me if you're a new comedian and you're coming to shows, is that or are you saying if you're a new comic interested in producing your own shows?
Like advice you would give to a new comedian as a producer.
Okay, so if I'm like, let's say if I'm doing my showcase and I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to give the guest spot to.
Yeah.
Is that sort of...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. This is how to get on Liam's show.
Book Liam some time off work so he can produce a show. No. Sorry. What a show. Oh, I'm working. What a sin. Feel bad for me. No. But I would say what stands out is like, I find... out of sight, out of mind is a real thing. So showing up to the shows, if I'm not at every show, but every show I'm at, you're there, that looks like interest. And writing, or, I mean, good writing is one thing, but being a good hang is another, that's more of an X Factory kind of way, which is something you can't really explain, but being friendly, introducing yourself. I think just like honest to God, like having a go-to attitude is so many battles in not just comedy, but like so much work. Like if you just show interest and like you're
not complainy and whiny, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and don't like being humble is important too. But I mean, in terms of like, yeah, if you were trying to get on mics, show the fuck up half an hour. Show up on your call time. And I'll be the first to admit it's not the best thing, but at least I'll always message a showrunner. As soon as I know I'm not going to be there on time, message them and say, hey, I'm going to be there, but I might be a little bit late. And yes, that's a pain in the ass for the showrunner, and maybe they're going to bump you further down the list. And do not ever use that as a tool to get further on down the show to make it look like you're more important. Because honestly, it doesn't matter. Where you are on the list doesn't matter. Honestly, if you're the first one to go up, sometimes it's like a badge of honor because
you can eat that bullet.
The showrunner wants to start the show strong, so there's nothing wrong with going first or being early in the show. The crowd is often hot, not that drunk, and is not that loud. Yeah. If you can get in right around the middle, whoo, that's a good spot to, so don't put too much focus on where you want to be. Make it easy for your showrunner. You don't want to be the person who every week has something on the go. Just make it easy, man. Like, because you got to remember, if someone's booking a show, there's all the people that are on the show, and then there's all the people who they couldn't put on the show that they're talking about. There's all the people who aren't even on the show that you got to fit in for next week or make it work. But those are all of that is time on the phone and conversations out of your day. And I don't know, everybody's different in terms of how much like of a mental load you can handle, but it can be pretty taxing sometimes, and depending on how many people you put on your show. So again, that's why, like, for me, it's like the showcase is like 3 plus a couple of guesties and myself.
Yeah, and that's like you were saying, a lot of us are working multiple jobs. We have other things to be at. So if you can make it easy, it's just like, yep, I know my call time. I know that person, like, I know that they know their call time. I know that they're going to show up when they show up. I know if something goes wrong, they'll let me know ahead of time.
Yeah, it's common courtesy shit, honestly. Yeah. Like that's the most helpful thing you can do. And other than that, I would say, unless you're friends with the showrunner, don't go up and try and bust the showrunner's balls because they're probably better at it than you are. Mm-hmm. And unless you do something silly. But I'm
also gonna one piece of advice is like, don't shit on the venue unless the venue's really shitty. Yeah, and you think that they would like that.
Like if I'm the host and it's if it's my house, like I'll say like, obviously not my house, but that's where my show is, right? It's like if I'm in my house, yeah, I can shit on Niall or whoever, you know what I mean? Like I can take the piss out of the bar. You can't.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that, and this is advice someone told me a long time ago, and this is from my time in a band and stuff. We are on that stage to sell beer.
Yeah.
That's why we're there. The venue did not hire any of us to elevate our fucking career or make us, because we've got a valuable opinion that people need to hear or whatever. No. We are the entertainment who are there to sell beer and liquor. We are a tool used to sell beer and liquor. So be good to the people who sell the beer and liquor and make good with those.
And they're giving us a nice spot to do our jokes that we can do our art, man.
Seriously.
But yeah.
And even though it's like, you know, my job to maintain a relationship with the venue owner, like if you go up there, yeah, and crap, like your hands, like your or my hands will be tied. Like, it might not be I want you gone or whatever. The venue wants you gone. Like, you know, you can't get up on stage. Like, it can be an open mic, and I can be pretty cool with like whatever you want to say. But if you go up there with a bunch of hate speech, the bar will fucking ban you. I don't need to ban you. So don't forget that there's like, you know, it can feel like the be all end all. Oh, you know, I'm up doing comedy. Oh, I'm edgy or this or that. But like, man, you might want to like just be careful because bar owners don't care about local comedy as much as we care about local comedy.
Yeah,
you know
they
what I
care about selling beer.
Yeah.
They care about making their rent. And
what a great point to end on. We don't matter.
We don't matter.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
None of this matters. Thank you for watching.
It is worth it. It's totally worth adventure. It's, you know, if you're a person with a hole in your heart, try local comedy.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Liam, for coming in and for chatting and sharing your life story from 2015 until now. I appreciate it. Oh, there's more of your life story for sure.
We didn't even talk about when I sold guns. Anyway, next podcast. Once we find out how much footage we lost on this one, I'll come back.
The means of producing weapons of mass destruction, I think, is my next podcast. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Featuring that guy from Pooch Cove.
I've been waiting.
Okay, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to Liam. Liam, do you, as a final note, where can people find you online? Where can they follow you? What's your next show?
Yeah, you can follow me right now at just Liam Small Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, and I just got off the road with Lynch, so I don't have much on the books for now. A little bit of downtime just to finish shooting St. Pierre season 2. And then in the winter we'll be back. What is it everybody says? Big things coming. Stay tuned. Big things in the works.
Freeze frame.